in TEIN workshop. And so today, so I'm Jae Sung Lee in physics in the team of nuclear medicine. So today, let me talk about the single photon emission computed tomography SPECT. So yeah, actually, this is the outline of my lecture. So that will include what is SPECT systems, and so what is in practical implementation of SPECT, and how we can characterize the SPECT performance. Maybe I will skip the application because we have to explain. And so yeah, as I said the last time in the gamma camera lecture, so yeah, we use the gamma cameras for the SPECT imaging. So you may have single head or the dual head SPECT system, and all of them that the dual head the gamma camera is most commonly used for the SPECT imaging. So actually those two gamma cameras usually have variable angles to allow this kind of acquisition with different angle between these two cameras. So usually the cameras at 90-degree angle are used for cardiac scan sets. And some of you are also familiar with triple head camera. But nowadays triple head camera is not much used in the clinics. So, but in SNU we have one the triple head camera, as you can see. So this is the typical the acquisition settings and acquisition and the reconstruction settings, the SPECT imaging. Usually, the field of view ranges the 20 to 60 centimeter, and reconstructed the SPECT image has the dimension of 64 by 64 or 128 by 128 if we need the higher spatial resolution. So the acquisition angle you can choose between 180 and or 360 degree. Yeah, but the 650 degree acquisition yield better the resolution uniformity and better attenuation correction, but the 180 is also possible. The reconstructed resolution of SPECT is almost 1 centimeter. So that is mainly because we use Collimator, so that limited spatial resolution of SPECT. So I think we should understand so what's the relationship between the distance and Collimator resolution. So yeah, as I said, that the resolution of SPECT system mainly depends on the Collimator resolution. So and this Collimator resolution depends on the distance between the source to the collimator. I mean that as the source to collimator distance is larger, collimator resolution will degrade. Okay, so for example, that in the high resolution of the collimator, in the SPECT system with a high resolution collimator, the resolution just in front of the collimator is about 0.2 centimeter, but if the distance is about 10 centimeter or something like that, actually spatial resolution is almost 1 centimeter. So that is why we should make a distance between the collimator and your patient as short as possible. Okay. yield better spatial resolution. And as you know that we use different kind of collimators. So if you want to have images with higher spatial resolution, we can use high resolution collimator. But if we know that the sensitivity is more important, then we can use high sensitivity spatial collimator. But in between them is general purpose. Okay. Yeah. So there are two possible the orbit scheme of the circular orbit around the patient. So one of them is just the regular circular orbit with the fixed radius, fixed the radius of rotation of gamma camera. But we can also use this kind of the contoured orbit that is to optimize for each individual patient. Okay. So yeah. So as I said told you in the previous slide, the spatial resolution of SPECT system much dependent on the distance between object and collimator. So if we use this the contoured orbit in the right part, actually that we can use we can optimize. I mean that we can use very optimal distance for each detector angles. So that is why we can achieve the better spatial resolution and better image quality if we use this kind of contoured. Okay. So in the modern gamma camera systems, we use infrared light source in camera to trace the outline of the patient and the bed as a function of angle to determine the this contour. Okay. So and yeah, so let me also show you some dedicated the cardiac SPECT systems. So yeah, as you know that the myocardial SPECT scans are one of the main application of SPECT. So that is why we have many cardiac SPECT scans, and that is why that in some hospitals they use dedicated cardiac SPECT. So this is one of the popular dedicated cardiac SPECT, in which that we use a kind of rotating chair for the angular sampling of the images, and the station iodide, thallium doped station iodide pixelated scintillation crystals used in the scanner to yield better spatial resolution. Okay. So this is another the popular dedicated cardiac SPECT. So actually the SNU we also have this scanner. So this scanner has CDT based semiconductor detector, so that has the better energy resolution than sodium iodide or sodium iodide based detector modules. Yeah, so actually that in this scanner 2 millimeter CGT pixels is tiled on 4 centimeter by 6 centimeter 16 centimeter detectors, and each of the CGT detectors are rotating like fans to collect a variable angle. And because that this dedicated cardiac SPECT use the shorter collimator with larger hole compared to the regular low energy and high resolution collimator. Actually, it has the high sensitivity, okay? Higher sensitivity, higher sensitivity. So that is why that we can reduce the scan time and radiation dose for the cardiac patient. The Pinhole collimator, now you know that the Pinhole collimator has been used for thyroid scan, but now Pinhole collimator is more commonly used in the small animal imaging. Okay? So actually, that the spatial resolution of Pinhole collimator system is much depends on the this magnification factor, zoom factor. So the zoom factor it is determined by the distance from the pinhole aperture to the object and the effect of the gamma camera. And because usually this distance b is much shorter than this the focal length f, the magnification of the pinhole collimator is usually larger. So, and this spatial resolution depends on the the aperture size. I mean that with the smaller size of pinhole aperture, we can yield better the image in terms of spatial resolution. Okay, but if this aperture has a too small hole size, actually sensitivity will decrease. Right? And I mean that actually so these are the the sensitivity profile according to the source to focal point distance of the pinhole apertures with different hole size. Okay, so yeah, it means that there is some trade-off between sensitivity and spatial resolution in the pinhole systems. Okay, so yeah, but in the small animal imaging, to achieve both good sensitivity and spatial resolution, we usually use this kind of multi-pinhole systems. I mean that this is an object, and if we have multi-pinhole with sufficiently far distance between them, actually that we will have two non-overlapping projections like that. We can also use this kind of strategy of light overlap. I mean that if distance between the hole is closer than this, we can use more pinholes, and we can achieve better sensitivity. Yeah, but the drawback of this design is there is some overlap between the projections. But if we use the iterative image reconstruction, actually even there is some overlap between the projections. Actually, so we can resolve this kind of reconstructive images based on the iterative image reconstruction. Yeah, so I told you, very basic, fact about the SPECT systems. I mean, that what kind of SPECT systems are available, and what determines the spatial resolution of SPECT, and how the Collimator resolution is dependent on the distance or other parameters. Okay. So, do you have any questions?
Actually, I just know that iterative reconstruction is just to make the picture or the images better, but what is it actually? I don't understand.
Iterative reconstruction. Yeah, the how to say? Yeah, actually, I don't have that slide here, but the most conventional reconstruction algorithm is the filtered back projection. So the filtered back projection, we just the back project the angular projections. Yeah, but the iterative reconstruction uses some different way. I mean that we assume some initial imaging and then make projection data, simulate projection data based on the SPECT geometry, and then compare it with the measured projection. And if there is some error, it iteratively updates the image spec. But that is not easy. But yeah, okay. So next time, let me, prepare some slides to show you, the better idea how we reconstruct it just based on it. I need some slides.
Ready? First of all, regarding the contoured orbit.
Regarding
contoured orbit, you said circular orbit versus contoured orbit.
Contoured orbit.
Yeah. So, which kind of gamma camera does utilize contoured orbit?
Actually, that some of the dual head cameras that we have to provide this function. So yeah. So actually, our SPECT CT systems they use this contoured with data acquisition. That depends on the SPECT. All the system doesn't have this kind of function. Some new SPECT systems have these options.
And how these conventional gamma cameras are different from digital gamma cameras?
Oh yeah, so that. So as I said told you last time, the modern cameras use digital detector. I mean that these gray ones are photomultiplier tube. So yeah, in the old analog cameras, actually that we combined all the analog signals from each the photomultiplier to calculate the position based on the angle logic. But in the modern digital camera, we digitalize each signal, keep the output, and using the computer, we calculate the positions.
So it still have photomultiplier tube, it still have the same system, same align, but the signal is different.
Yeah,
signal processing is different.
Signal is converted into the digital signal in the very early stage of data acquisition.
So we don't have that dynode and that system where the multiplication of our signal takes place.
That happens inside of this program.
Yeah.
But after that process, each photomultiplier tube provides some analog signal. But in that stage, we digitalize. So yeah, actually this function is independent from the kind of concept of the digital spec. But both the functions are very modern. Both the functions are very modern.
And they still use the iterative reconstruction and other procedures.
Yeah, so whether we use the iterative reconstruction or other algorithms are also independent from these functions. But in most of new cameras, the iterative reconstruction is available. So especially in the SPECT CT, the iterative reconstruction is very vital.
For the multi-pinhole collimator, multi-pinhole collimator, is it used also for human?
Yeah, so I have never seen it in the G or the Siemens SPECT, but maybe so showed me that multi-pinhole collimator for human brain, but I don't know whether they have commercialized it or not. So, and other company, MI Lab, they also develop, they also develop brain dedicated SPECT based on multi-pinhole collimator. So there is some possibility that it will use in the SPECT system, clinical SPECT systems.
I have read that they use slanted multi-pinhole collimators for cardiac.
Yeah, actually slanted is little different pinhole collimator, but so quite similar concept. Yeah, so let me now move to some the practical the implementation. Do you have any question? Okay, so let me now move to the other question. Actually, that so we have some the physical issues in SPECT. So those include attenuation and set of the gamma rays and set of penetration, and there is some in actually these attenuation depends on the energy of and they cause then be degraded in the proper. Yeah, so yeah, to understand attenuation, actually we should be familiar with this formula, this equation, but this is a very popular equation in nuclear medicine. So yeah, actually that this equation describes how the radiation and gamma ray is attenuated by the attenuation material. So attenuating materials. So in this equation, is I0, so is the instant the flux of instant radiation, and I is transmitted, and some exponential decay is involved in this attenuation. I mean the mu is linear attenuation coefficient, and x is the frequency. Okay. So if we have some material with a uniform attenuation coefficient and known thickness, actually we can calculate, we can make this relationship. Yeah, but usually that the image object is doesn't have a uniform attenuation coefficient. So maybe that the attenuation coefficient of this material will be non-uniform. So for that non-uniform attenuation media, so we can just switch this part with this the integral of mu that depends on the position, and so this is a very simple formula for attenuation. Okay. Yeah. So that for the correction of attenuation and the scatter, actually we need to know this attenuation coefficient, right? So because sometimes we can measure the thickness, but maybe the attenuation coefficient of my image object is not known. So we need to measure this attenuation coefficient. Okay. And there are two ways to measure this attenuation coefficient. I mean that we can measure the attenuation coefficient with the broad beam geometry, in which the radiation source is not collimated, and we can alternatively we can use this narrow beam geometry. In this case, the radiation source is also collimated during the. Okay. So yeah, if we compare the attenuation coefficient measured using these two different the geometry, attenuation coefficient will be the smaller with this broad beam geometry, right? Because some scattered photons can go into the detectors, so attenuation coefficient will be underestimated, right? So you should understand the kind of the difference. So actually, let me talk about how we can correct attenuation in the gamma camera system. Okay. So one of such a correction more frequently used for gamma camera. I mean that your head in a gamma camera scan. So there is conjugate counting. So there are two ways. I mean that so we can calculate the average, based on calculate their average based on this multiplication operation, right? So this is the arithmetic mean. I mean this is geometry. But in nuclear medicine, for attenuation correction, we prefer to use geometry, right? So actually, this slide show why we prefer geometric mean rather than the arithmetic. Actually, so this is I mean their mean values based on the depth. The mean values, measured, according to that. Okay? But in this case, it was measured at air without any attenuation material. And actually, this is the values measured with some attenuating material. So if there is no attenuating material, actually, this, the arithmetic and geometric mean yield, the same values regardless of the depth of the source. But if there is, no attenuating material, I mean that, if we measure the inside of the water or something like that, only, the geometric mean yield, more uniform the value. So that is why, that we prefer to use, geometry. Okay? Yeah, actually, we can prove it mathematically. I mean that if there is a point source here, and if it has initial activity is I0, I01, I0, and then the I1 measured by the detector 1 will be I0 multiplied by exponential minus 8. Right? And this I2 will be I0 multiplied by exponential minus B. So actually, the A plus B is D over D. So that is why that actually the geometric mean will equal to this equation that is not dependent on the position of point source. So that is only determined by the thickness of the pixel. Okay. Okay. So that is why the mean values doesn't depend on the position. Okay. So this is why we use the geometry. Okay. So how about the SPECT? So in SPECT, actually that we can correct attenuation, especially for brain SPECT and some the SPECT-CT scans. So yeah, in case of brain SPECT, without any CT or transmission measurement, we just assume the uniform attenuation coefficient for brain and other soft tissue. I mean the brain and CSF. So we just assume that brain tissue and CSF, all of them have the same attenuation coefficient. Okay? And skull has higher attenuation coefficient. So we also assign the attenuation coefficient for skull. But we don't know exactly how thick is the skull of each patient. So we just also assume the same thickness of the skull. Okay? Brain SPECT. But in SPECT-CT, because SPECT is available, we can use SPECT for generating the attenuation coefficient, like in a PET-CT system. we will have attenuation of the coefficient map that is generated from CT. Okay. So if we have such attenuation map, so there is uniform or non-uniform. Actually, we use that information to calculate attenuation correction factor for each pixels in SPECT using this equation. Okay. I mean that for SPECT, we calculated this attenuation correction factor for each position. So that is 1 over the sigma of exponential minus mu di. So yeah, actually, that in this equation, this mu, I think I should do here. So this is my object, and if my camera is here, and if I want to calculate attenuation correction factor for this position, x, y. So actually in this direction, so yeah, each pixel would have a different attenuation coefficient. Yeah. So yeah, actually that by apply the summation of this attenuation coefficient, actually we can calculate how much my activity is attenuated in this test space. Right? So yeah, if we have camera position here, we can also calculate this value. Okay. Yeah, so we can also calculate this value. Then we calculate their average. So this is how we calculate this attenuation correction factor. So this, yeah, actually, the aim of this method is the Chang's multiplication method. Okay. Chang has developed this kind of attenuation correction method for SPECT. So this method is used for brain SPECT and SPECT simulation. Yeah, but yeah, if we use the narrow beam attenuation coefficient for the SPECT attenuation correction, based on Chang's method, usually that the activity at the center of field of view is overestimated. Why? So do you know why? I mean that this is the profile of the phantom that was reconstructed without attenuation correction, and this is the image generated after attenuation correction based on Chang's method and narrow beam. The attenuation coefficient measured with narrow beam. So in the case, yeah, we expect some very uniform the profile, but the activity at the center is overestimated. That is exactly because of the scatter. Okay, so there are more scatter photons at the center of the object. So that scatter causes this kind of overestimation. And how we can remove that influence in the effect of the scatter? So one of possible way is to apply the attenuation coefficient measured with broad beam geometry. As I said, that we measure the attenuation coefficient with broad beam geometry. Attenuation coefficient will be smaller because it includes the scattered photons. But if we use this value, intrinsically we can correct the scatter together. Right? So this is one of the possible way to get more uniform profile after annotation. Applying Chang's method with the broad beam attenuation. Okay. So this is one of the tricks you can apply. Yeah, but we can the expect there will be some limited accuracy due to know the spatial distribution information. Yeah, so this is a very global strategy and some kind of tricky. So I don't recommend it. So the better one would be applying scatter correction before the attenuation. So then how we can correct the scatter? So most common way is this energy window based. So yeah, as you said, there are many scattered photons. So to reject such a scattered event, the operation that we should do is applying the energy window. So we apply some energy window for the primary photons. Actually, that we can reject the larger amount of scatters. Okay, larger amount. But even after that scatter rejection, based on such a primary energy window, we still have some scatters here. Okay, so we need to this remaining scatter. So then how we can remove that? So the idea of dual energy window is that actually this amount under the this scatter curve in the this photographic window will be proportional to the amount of scatter in this secondary window. I mean that yeah. So yeah. If we have the large scattered object, actually we will have this scatter distribution, but the scatter is not so significant. Actually, scatter distribution will be lower. Yeah, but if we apply these two windows, actually this amount and the ratio of this amount, and the ratio of this amount and this amount would be quite similar, right? So actually, in this dual energy window method, we assume that this fraction, this scatter fraction, is fixed value that will be same in the regardless of how much scatter has happened. The ratio. Yeah, we can just determine is this ratio maybe based on phantom data or something like that. So yeah, so in scatter, so actually that also this fraction will be also dependent on the energy of isotope. So each isotope should have a different fraction. Okay? For example, that will be also dependent on this width of the window that we use. Right? So yeah, for calculation 99M, if we use same width of the primary and scatter window, we're gonna have about 0.3 or 0.4 the scatter fraction value. This is very simple but very useful. method for scatter function. Okay. So, and yeah, another the physical effect we should understand is partial volume effect. Partial volume effect. So partial volume effect means that the count and activity that we observe from the image will depends on the size of the object. I mean that if the size of your cancer, your object is too small, the activity and count will be underestimated because of the limited spatial resolution of imaging systems. So, yeah, if the size of the region is large enough, I mean that if it is larger than 3 times or 4 times larger than the spatial resolution, then it doesn't matter. But if it has a smaller size, actually the count will be reduced due to the smearing of the. We should understand this effect. So the resolution recovery coefficient means the ratio between the true activity and the measured activity. Okay, resolution recovery coefficient. So yeah, actually, that if you have the large sphere, the recovery coefficient will be 1. Okay, yeah, but if you have a smaller size, the recovery coefficient will be smaller than 1. Okay. So that is why that this recovery coefficient plot will have this shape. In this plot, x-axis is the ratio between the cylinder diameter and the FWH. I mean the spatial resolution of the. So yeah, as I said, that if the cylinder diameter is much larger than your spatial resolution, 3 times or 4 times larger, it doesn't matter. But if the size is smaller to the spatial resolution, so I think you can remember that spatial resolution of SPECT is over 1 centimeter, something like that. So if your region is smaller than 1 centimeter, actually the recovery coefficient will be less than 1. And finally, how we can characterize such a performance of SPECT systems. So to measure the spatial resolution, we usually use point source or line source located at the center and at several critical systems. So we can use some reconstruction filters that you use in your clinical images, and the spatial resolution is measured in terms of the full width half maximum of the point spread function while the line spread function. Now, this is a standard method how to measure system volume sensitivity. So the system volume sensitivity definition of this system volume sensitivity is the number of events detected by the system per second and per unit activity. So the NEMA standard recommend you to use uniform cylindrical phantom with 20 centimeter diameter and 20 centimeter length. And activity should live about 10,000 CPS heart rate, and the width 150 millimeter, the rotation diameter, and 120 position view with constructed SPECT images. Then we calculated this system volume sensitivity based on location. So there is a number of counts divided by the scan time and divided by the activity concentration. So we can also measure, energy resolution and calculate performance at that time. So this is very typical, the quality assurance, procedures. So yeah, you may measure the flood field uniformity, and it should be, the 1% or less than 1%. Actually, the reconstructed image uniformity should be inspected by the eyes. Okay, and system alignment should be also. It can be also measured using point source. So using by calculating position by position center of rotation. Yeah, so yeah, in the the later part, actually, I told you. So what is the physical issues that we should consider in the SPECT imaging that include attenuation and scatter and partial burn effect. I told you how we correct attenuation in brain SPECT and spectroscopy, and what is the method in scatter correction. So, any questions?
I have questions regarding recovery coefficient. Recovery coefficient.
Recovery coefficient.
Yeah, as you say that recovery coefficient is the ratio between the true activity and measured activity.
Yeah.
So how does this coefficient help to correct the images? Does it help, or it's just that we identify that this much is a degradation?
Yeah. So yeah, in the in the clinical setting, so yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, some of my colleagues has tried to make some table. So based on the table of this recovery coefficient and the size of the the region, actually that we can calculate we can speculate what was true activity. Okay, so that is one of the possible methods. But in the case we should be very careful, because that this recovery coefficient will be also dependent on the background level. So actually, this plot was measured without any background activity. Yeah, but if there is some background activity, actually, there will be some spillover from background to the object. So that is not a very simple way to calculate the true values.
Because so far, I think this is the only method mentioned inside the book, right? This is the only method. I have another query. Can you go back to that? Yeah, like these are the counts, right? So why the counts are flat? It's because of the saturation, the upper portion of that.
Oh no. Actually, every pixel suffer from the partial burning effect. But actually, the pixels at the center of this sphere, this partial burning effect is compensated by the spillover from the neighbor pixel. Although that each pixel will suffer the special such a blurring, actually there some activity will be come from the neighbors. Split in. So, but the pixels at the edges, there is no such a splitting activity. And that is why
that will be a uniformity check. Length of the cylinder can be shorter than.
for the for this, this was for system volume sensitivity.
So system volumes.
Yeah, sensitivity, but I mean, following the standard way better, because if we have a short factor, the scatter distribution may be different. So following the standard. Any other question? So do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Bạch Mai happy to speaking. Anh nó
Không lên đây đó, không rồi. Lại một số nào. Đúng rồi thì chị nó lên sớm.
Không, mỗi tội em lên muộn không được kiểm tra.
Chạy đấy, đánh trọ.
Đúng rồi.
Bạch Mai happy to speaking.
Cắt rồi anh ạ.